some words of Torah from Leann Shamash.
This poem is called We Remember. You were born in Egypt to slaves, only to be freed. You were born in a desert in a tent, destined to wander. You were born in the land and you brought sacrifices. You fought wars and learned to be a people. Twice you were expelled from that land and you never forgot that you were a Jew. You were born in Babylonia and you mourned the dispersion, but you built a life there. You became a master of Galut. You were in the lands of the East. You were shepherds and farmers and artisans. You lived among others, their customs there for you to see. And yet you prayed facing Jerusalem. And you wandered. Even if you wanted to forget your origins, they never forgot that you were a Jew. You were persecuted and scorned. You fled from land to land. Violence and bloodshed followed you. Your children were never safe. You were accused. You were needlessly hated, but still you prayed, your fringes in your hands. And you hoped to return as you closed your eyes and kissed those fringes, and you remembered. You lived far away from the land promised you, but the memory of your land did not fade. You prayed it, you ate it, you sang it, you celebrated it, you mourned it, you lived it, and you hoped it. And although you lived scattered in many lands, you did not forget where you came from. You slipped from land to land. Your customs changed, but you didn't forget. From the ghetto to the Kasbah, you didn't forget. From France, from the Germanic lands, you remembered. And when you were accused falsely, you remembered. And when you had no one but yourselves to rely upon, you remembered. And during the Crusades through blood, you remembered. And through the rack of the Inquisition, you remembered. And once you were in Egypt and you were brought to the safety of the promised land and you prayed for redemption, for the Mashiach to come and for your return. And when you were expelled and you fled like mice from land to land, you were forced to remember where you came from. And in the ghettos of Eastern Europe, you remembered as synagogues burned, and during pogroms, you remembered as they chased you, as you died, Al Kiddush Hashem, for being who you are, a Jew. And you remembered when you hunkered in caves, when frozen in hiding spots underground, you had plenty of time to remember. When you starved, you remembered. And when your parents were murdered, you remembered. And in the shuks of the east and the Mela of Fez and in the mountains of Isfahan and the villages of Yemen and the plains of Ethiopia, you remembered. When you wore the star on your clothing, you remembered. You remembered as you kissed your mezuzah, you remembered as you lifted the Torah. You remembered in DP camps. You remembered when you saw the tattoo branded on your arm. You remembered on the frozen tundras of Siberia, and as you fled to countries that didn't want you and sent you back to hell. All the time you remembered. You remembered as you entered New York Harbor and saw the outstretched arms of the statue. And you remembered as you met someone from your town far away that you are one family of Jews. You remembered when you were excluded and ridiculed. You remembered even when you longed with all your heart to forget. You remembered as you fled Syria, Iran, Morocco, and Egypt with forged passports, and as you fled through mountains and deserts. You remembered when you bribed officials and when you finally arrived to the promised land and you kissed the ground beneath you. And you remembered each time a war is fought in Israel. And when you read the news when a synagogue is vandalized, you know you are a Jew. You know you are not alone, but you know that you are so alone when you are a Jew. You do not forget. And you remember when your child is brought to the Torah and chants the blessing. And you remember when you walk your child to the chuppah. And when we gather and when we eat bagels and chicken soup, even in suburbia, we do not forget. We will not forget that we are Jews. And if we slip and begin to forget, we know that always others will remember for us that we are Jews. We are all Jews, and we remember.
Beautiful. It was very powerful, Leann. Thank you so much. And thank you for setting up the Yom HaZikaron, which is another name for Rosh Hashanah, as we prepare to remember uniquely this year, inspired by your remarkable poem today. Thank you.